when it comes to money, money and morals are not the same lane. They don't cancel each other out. They're just two separate lanes. And this is not a difference that we were taught growing up. And when you're not taught this, you take that principle, you bring morality into finances, and it ruins everything because money is just a tool. It is not a living thing that requires morality. You can bring your values into how you use the tool to achieve your future, which is why you want to understand yourself first to know what your values are before you can go into using the tool. So not the same thing, but with this misconceived idea, the adults that were taking care of us did not teach us the difference, right? So now we mix the circumstance, which is money, with the story that we tell about it. And that's why I want to help you appreciate there's a difference between circumstances and stories. Now, let's talk about failure as another example of how we muddled circumstances with stories. Now, when you were in school and you took a test and you failed the test, you were either a failure or a success. There was no in between. There was no let's pull back the fail test and let's learn from them. I don't know that my teachers never did that. We never sat down and looked back at our fail test and be like, okay, so why did you fail this one? What did you learn from this? No, you just failed. And then you carry this shame around because you failed. There was no lesson learned. There was no moment of reflection. There was just the next test, just don't fail. But like if you're taking the guilt and the shame from the failure because you had a terrible grade, then you're just taking that into the next test. And that's exactly how I showed up every time we had a math test. I mean, I already knew from my first test in math that I wasn't going to be good because I never learned from that failure. I didn't go over the test and be like, okay, so why didn't I get this answer right? Especially with math. Math is one of those subject that you could totally learn so much from your failures. Like if you really took a test exam and went over every question and see what you got right and what you got wrong, and then try to learn from that, there's so much value in that exercise alone. We never did that. And if you didn't do that, all you remember, all your memory from that event is you're terrible at math. What's the point of studying? And I remember feeling like I can't wait to be done with school so I don't ever have to do math. I mean, the math we did in school, we all know it's not really, we don't use it as adults. So, so it did happen to be true that I finished school and I didn't have to do that kind of math. But I think that if I had spent time really examining my failures, I would have learned so much. I know that for a fact today because now that I have reframed my relationship with failure, there's such a beautiful, I mean, I just really like sit with the failure. I'm never going to say I enjoy it, but I appreciate it so much. I never take a failure for granted. Like if I go out in the world and have a goal and it doesn't work out, I don't get it. I don't get what I wanted to get. I'm never going to just be like, oh, I'm such a loser. I'm like, oh, well, let's sit down and let's have an analysis. What worked, what didn't work, and what would I do differently? Like that is so powerful. And I have gotten so much gold from doing this simple exercise from a failure. I didn't learn this until I became an adult. So when children go through this process of failing, or we're playing games and nobody can lose, we're teaching them failure is a terrible thing. And so in the process of us trying to take care of them and protect them, we're damaging their connection, their relationship with circumstances, the difference between circumstances and the story that we tell. So these are some of the ways that we have muddled that path for our children.